The field is set and the outcome is preordained. Virginia this year will elect its first female governor. The Democratic nominee is Abigail Spanberger, a former congresswoman. The Republican, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. Both could have had primary opposition. It was more talk than action. On the Democratic side, Congressman Bobby Scott toyed with running. Two uber-Trumpy Republicans, Amanda Chase and Dave LaRock, announced for the nomination. Both failed to make the ballot. That Virginia's next governor will be a woman may not seem a big deal. After all, 32 states have had female governors. Among them, Virginia's neighbor to the south, North Carolina. Nearby, Delaware has also elected a woman as governor. In Virginia, it's not as if a woman hasn't tried before for the state's highest office. In 1993, Mary Sue Terry was the Democratic nominee for governor. She'd already made history, becoming the first woman in Virginia elected statewide. Terry won for Attorney General in 1985, was reelected 4 years later. Both times, against men, Terry won by huge margins. That elevated expectations when she ran for governor against Republican George Allen. Terry lost in a double-digit landslide that augured a historic Republican ascendancy. Allen would bring along more Republican legislators, forcing Democrats to support Allen on such significant initiatives as the abolition of parole. 3 decades later, it's still the law. Allen's popularity helped the first ever Republican statewide sweep in 1997, and by 1999, Republicans had won control of the House of Delegates and the Virginia Senate. It would be the first time in more than a century that Republicans pulled off a trifecta. That's what Democrats are shooting for with Spanberger. They have majorities in the House and the Senate, but they're very slender. If Spanberger has coattails, she might bring along a Democratic lieutenant governor, a Democratic attorney general, and more Democratic delegates. One-party control of Virginia government would be a chance for Democrats to do a lot for their base. For instance, raise the state minimum wage, ban military-style firearms, guarantee access to contraception, provide more protections for LGBTQ Virginians. But Republicans, led by Earl Sears, the first black woman and the first black Republican elected statewide here, would say Democrats can do a lot of damage. That would include greater freedom for public employees to join labor unions, and something that scares business leaders, including those friendly to Democrats, doing away with Virginia's prohibition on mandatory union membership as a condition for a job. This is the so-called right-to-work law. It's been in place for nearly 80 years. Earl Sears has been throwing these and other issues at Spanberger. Earl Sears makes the case that divided government is good for Virginia, that it keeps the state from veering too far left and too far right. These have been the implied watchwords of the fellow Republican Earl Sears hopes to succeed, Governor Glenn Youngkin. Since he lost control of the legislature to Democrats in 2023, Youngkin has basically governed by veto, blocking symbolic bills important to Democrats. But when this campaign is over, when Virginia has its first female governor, history will not only record that another barrier has fallen in a state whose firsts include the nation's first elective black governor, Doug Wilder, who won in 1989. History will note the role of President Donald Trump, who's always been unpopular here. With his attack on federal spending and employment, pillars of the Virginia economy, he's giving lots of voters lots of reasons to vote for Abigail Spanberger. Or is that against Winsome Earl Sears? For the Richmond Times-Dispatch, this is Jeff Shapiro.